Imagine waking up to news that global supply chains have reached a breaking point. The Strait of Hormuz is closed again, and no agreement has been reached to end the current regional conflict. Now, it is triggering fuel shortages, failing supply chains, and widespread outages. While your neighbors panic, you stay calm because you already know what to do. And in this video, I will show you 11 practical skills that could make you the most reliable person in your community if everything starts to fall apart. Before we count them down, remember this: when systems collapse, goods run out, but skills become the real currency. Past crises have shown that those who could fix, grow, or treat survived, and with Australia heavily reliant on imports and vulnerable to global disruptions like the Strait of Hormuz closure, these 11 skills focus on the essentials of survival like water, food, health, energy, and trade. Number 11. Knot tying and rope craft. The most underrated foundational skill on this list. A poorly tied knot retains as little as 40% of a rope's rated strength, according to the International Guild of Knot Tiers. That means your shelter collapses and your snare fails. Australia's pastoral and maritime heritage is built on knot work. Stockmen and fishermen have relied on it for over 200 years. 6 essential knots cover 90% of survival applications: the bowline, the clove hitch, the trucker's hitch, the figure 8, the taut line, the sheet bend. Learn those 6 and you can build shelters, rig tarps, set snares, lash rafts, and make stretchers. In a collapse, you become the person everyone calls when something needs to be built or secured. That earns you food. Number 10. Navigation without technology. GPS needs satellites. Phones need batteries. Apps need internet. When all three go dark, the ability to find your way separates survivors from the lost. Australia is the 6th largest country on Earth, with vast stretches of featureless terrain. Aboriginal Australians navigated this continent for over 65,000 years, using songlines, star maps, and deep reading of landscape and wind. Visible from most of the Southern Hemisphere, the Southern Cross is visible every clear night from anywhere in Australia and has been used for navigation for millennia. Pro tip: topographic maps of every square kilometre are available free from Geoscience Australia right now. In a collapse, every community needs scouts, messengers, and supply runners. The person who can move between settlements and come back alive becomes essential. Number 9. Fire starting and fire management. Fire provides heat, light, water purification, cooking, signaling, and psychological comfort. It is the single most transformative survival tool a human can use. Aboriginal Australians practiced fire stick farming for tens of thousands of years, now formally recognised by the CSIRO as a legitimate ecological technique. A disposable lighter gives you around 3,000 ignitions, but eventually runs out. Knowing how to start fire with a bow drill, ferro rod, or magnifying lens means you never lose this ability. A Dakota fire hole burns hot with minimal smoke using half the fuel of an open fire. A reflector wall doubles warming efficiency. The person who can reliably start fire in the rain becomes indispensable. History has proven this in every survival situation ever recorded. Number 8. Rainwater, harvesting and water purification. You can survive weeks without food, but only about 3 days without water. Australia is the driest inhabited continent on Earth, and municipal water relies on electric pumps that rely on fuel supplies that are currently under threat. Over 2.3 million Australian households already use rainwater tanks. A standard 100 square metre roof in Sydney captures approximately 80,000 litres per year. That is more than enough for a family. Boiling kills 99.99% of pathogens. A DIY biosand filter using gravel, sand, and charcoal can be built from hardware store materials. Even household bleach can work in an emergency. For clear water, standard 5% unscented bleach at 2 drops per litre, wait 30 minutes and it should be safe to drink. But remember to verify the concentrations first. The current fuel crisis has already flagged regional water treatment plants as at risk because they rely on diesel backup generators. When municipal systems fail, clean water becomes the most immediately life-threatening scarcity. Number 7. Bush tucker, foraging and wild food identification. Supermarket shelves empty within 72 hours of a major disruption. But Australia has over 6,500 native plant species with documented food use. Aboriginal Australians thrived here for over 65,000 years without agriculture, through deep knowledge of the land. Warrigal greens are a native spinach found across the Australian coastline packed with vitamins. Lemon myrtle grows across Queensland and northern New South Wales. Wattle seed has been a staple food for thousands of years. Critical rule: never eat anything you cannot positively identify with 100% certainty, as many native plants are highly toxic and mimic edible species. Proper preparation matters. Some bush foods require cooking or leaching to remove natural toxins. When the shops are gone, the person who can identify safe wild food feeds the community. That is genuine wealth. Number 6. Food preservation without electricity. Growing food solves today's hunger. Preserving it solves next month's. Without refrigeration, everything rots within days. Australia's early settlers relied entirely on salting, smoking, and drying to survive. The Country Women's Association preserved making traditions kept rural families fed through droughts and depressions for a century. Salt curing draws moisture from meat, creating conditions bacteria cannot survive in. Smoking introduces natural antimicrobial compounds. Water bath canning creates sterile vacuum seals lasting years. Lactofermentation is another powerful technique, preserving vegetables while actually increasing their nutritional value with nothing more than salt and water. When someone brings you a kangaroo and you turn it into 6 months of jerky, you become the most valuable person on the street. Number 5. Wilderness, first aid and wound management. Australia imports approximately 90% of its medicines. A single shipping disruption could leave us without antibiotics and painkillers within weeks. The 2026 fuel crisis demonstrated how quickly essential supplies are affected. A simple cut becomes life-threatening when hospitals are gone. Wound irrigation with clean water removes roughly 80% of bacteria, according to the Wilderness Medical Society. Improvised splints can be made from sticks and fabric. Tea tree oil from the Melaleuca alternifolia is an Australian native with proven antimicrobial properties used medicinally for generations. Recognizing the early signs of infection is critical. Redness, warmth, swelling, and red streaking from a wound mean you need to act fast before the problem becomes fatal. The Royal Flying Doctor Service has served remote Australia since 1928, but it relies on aircraft, fuel, and medical supplies that all become scarce in a crisis. St. John Ambulance Australia offers wilderness first aid courses nationwide right now. In every economic collapse in history, the person with medical knowledge was paid in food, shelter, and protection. Number 4. Seed saving and year-round food growing. Every other skill keeps you alive short term. Growing food keeps you alive indefinitely. Seed saving turns a one-season garden into a perpetual food system. Heirloom seeds are open-pollinated, meaning the plants produce seeds true to type. You can save and replant them forever. Hybrid seeds do not do this. They are a one-generation product. Permaculture was invented right here in Australia by Bill Mollison and David Holmgren in Tasmania in the 1970s. A 400 to 500 square metre garden can provide 70 to 80% of a family of four's vegetable needs. Focus on high-yield crops for Australian conditions. potatoes, beans, pumpkin, silver beet, tomatoes, sweet potato. Learn companion planting to boost yields naturally. The Three Sisters method of growing corn with beans and pumpkin has been used by indigenous cultures for centuries and works brilliantly in Australian soil. Food feeds you once, seeds feed you forever. The person who can grow food and supply viable seeds controls the most sustainable wealth that exists. Number 3, basic mechanical repair and tool maintenance. When the mechanic is gone, the person who can fix a water pump, repair a generator, or sharpen a blade inherits a level of importance money could never buy. Rural Australians have a long tradition of bush mechanic improvisation. Australia has over 1,000 registered men's sheds with over 200,000 members where repair skills are taught every week. Small engine repair is the most valuable mechanical skill when the grid is down. Generators, water pumps, and chainsaws all follow the same basic principles. A sharp blade is safe. A dull one is useless and dangerous. A basic toolkit of an adjustable wrench, screwdriver, pliers, vice grips, and hacksaw handles most household repairs. Basic welding, even with a rudimentary setup, opens up the ability to fabricate and fix metal structures, gates, and frames. Every community needs a fixer. The person who keeps the water flowing, the generator running, and the tools sharp earns their own economy. Number 2, off-grid solar and energy management. Electricity is the invisible backbone of modern life. Refrigeration, communication, lighting, water pumping. All of it stops when the grid goes down. Australia has only 2 operational oil refineries left. The 2026 Hormuz crisis triggered release of reserves already dangerously below the International Energy Agency's 90-day benchmark. But Australia receives more solar energy per square metre than almost any other inhabited country. Over 3.6 million households already have rooftop solar. The skill is understanding how to run a standalone system when the installers are not coming back. A single 300-watt panel produces roughly 1.2 kilowatt hours per day, enough for lighting, phone charging, a radio, and a small fan. Learn battery maintenance. Learn safe wiring. Learn to spot corroded terminals and overloaded inverters. The person who gives a community light and communication during a blackout is not just useful, they are essential. Number 1, bartering, trade, and community building. Taking the top spot is the skill that ties every other one together. Every skill on this list produces something. Bartering is how you convert what you can do into what you need. It is the operating system of a post-collapse world. During the Great Depression, country towns survived through barter networks where a doctor's visit might cost a sack of potatoes. Divisibility matters. Small trades build trust. A few spoonfuls of coffee for a bag of tomatoes. An hour of repair work for a week of eggs. Your reputation becomes your credit score. And here is the biggest lesson from every collapse ever studied. The lone wolf rarely survives. The connected person does. Community networks and local trade circles are what keep people alive when old systems fail. This skill is not just negotiation. It is building the relationships that make every other skill work. That is why it takes the number 1 spot. So there you have it. 11 practical skills that are skyrocketing in value as our systems become more fragile. The current global situation is showing us how fast things can go sideways. If things ever break down, the person with skills will always eat. Always.